Hi, everyone. Welcome to the fifth episode of the Armory 33 podcast. As always, I'm your host, Quinn, and today I'm joined by a special guest, Mike. Mike, how you doing today, bud?
I'm doing pretty good.
So what have you been up to?
Well, last few months I've done some traveling, did some concerts during my traveling. Went out to Los Angeles for about a week, and I went to two shows out there.
Very nice. What shows did you see out in LA?
So the first one I went to was the final night of the Jane's Addiction and Smashing Pumpkins tour. It's also the season closer at the Hollywood Bowl, which celebrated their 100th anniversary. So that was one of the venues I've always wanted to visit. It was on the bucket list of venues I wanted to go to. And it was a good way to see it at the end of their 100th anniversary.
What a way to go out to of Jane's Addiction and Smashing Pumpkins.
Yep.
That must have been a great show.
It was.
I know, but the people listening don't know. You also saw another last show on that trip too, correct?
That is correct.
You want to tell the people listening what that was?
So I went to the final night of Elton John's U.S. run. So it was night 3 of 3 at Dodger Stadium.
And that was the one they also recorded for Disney Plus too.
Yeah, so it is on Disney Plus. They live streamed it.
It was a good show. I mean, I can only imagine what it was like being there in person, seeing Sir Elton John perform.
It was definitely a nice night to be there. The weather was perfect. I mean, it's California, so the weather's good.
Is it ever really bad in LA?
It got a little cool at night for the Smashing Pumpkins show. So to the point where I actually had long pants and a jacket on, I was still kind of cold. But at least with Dodger Stadium, you have an enclosure, so the wind wasn't really hitting you. But yeah, weather was perfect. It was about 65 degrees, low humidity, slight breeze in the air. Couldn't ask for a better night.
How was the traffic in and out of that? Because I know it's LA traffic. Were you stuck for a couple hours?
I was not, actually. So watching the news from the first night, because the night I landed there was the night 1. So on the news the next morning, they had people that were missing about 45 minutes to an hour of the show just trying to get in. So I made sure when I got the email that said what time the gates opened that I was going to be there when the gates opened. So which was 5:30. I pulled off the interstate at 5:30, and it still took me 45 minutes to get through the line of cars to get into the parking lot.
Concert started at 7 or 8?
8 o'clock.
Okay. So you had time to get in there and get your spot and everything like that, walk around.
Yeah, so they also then had a huge line just they also had some areas blocked off because there's a bunch of VIPs that were there for the night. Mick Jagger was also there, Paul McCartney was there, Neil Patrick Harris, John Stamos, Miles Teller.
Miles Teller, he's been everywhere lately.
Yeah.
Did you see a Super Bowl commercial?
I did.
You know he learned those moves to do Footloose. So Kevin Bacon's still Kevin Bacon.
Yeah,
that one's still the best. I mean, Julianne Hough is in the new one. Mike, you and I, we used to work together. We've stayed close since, I've upgraded where I worked. No offense. One thing that I think you and I first bonded on when I came to work with the company that you work for, we're not going to mention any names. We're going to keep that. But I think one of the first things that we bonded over was music.
That's correct.
I think one of the first times I met you, you might have had the Queen shirt on.
Yeah, I own a couple of them.
Yeah, and I think it was one of those things that I was passing. I'm like, nice shirt. You're like, yeah, and you just went on like a spiel of something. And I was like, okay, so this is the music guy. Like every place you work has like a sports guy, a music guy, and a movie guy. And
I'm definitely not the sports guy.
No. It was one of those things I just remember. I was like, oh, he's the music guy. And I think you came up to me a couple of days later in our department, and you was like, hey, did you see this, this, and this? I'm like, no, I didn't. You're like, well, you need to go look at this right now. And I think you just like pulled your phone out, and you just started showing me videos.
That sounds about right.
You're like, I was at this concert, I've been to this concert, I've been to this concert. In your life, how many, estimate, because I know you don't know the exact number, how many concerts have you been to in your life?
It's around 250.
Around 250. I was going to say I'm probably close to like anywhere between 50 to 100.
Because I figured out a few years ago, I hit 200 when I saw Pearl Jam at Wrigley Field. I saw them out there twice. So that was number 200 and 201. And then just kind of guesstimating the amount of shows I've done since then is probably around 50. So if I'm not at 250, I'm pretty close to it.
Or you might even be over it.
Or I could even be over it a little bit.
Now, what do you constitute as a show? Does it have to be a big venue? Does it have to be a small venue?
It can be any size venue.
Anywhere that you have to pay $10 and up for a ticket?
Basically, yes.
So for the Boomsburg Fair, you would consider that a show?
I would consider that a show. I haven't done a huge amount of shows there, but like 4 maybe.
Ironically, my lovely wife and I, that's where we've been, a majority of our concerts together have been to the Boom Fair. Because it's like, oh, hey, this artist is coming. Let's go see there. Let's go see them. You're in the 80s and 90s, some 70s, correct? Like, what is your What's your go-to genre to listen to?
Mainly classic rock into the from 60s into the 90s.
Now, with you being the almost 250 plus shows, what would you say are some of the best shows that you've been at?
So production wise, anything from Roger Waters, he's from Pink Floyd. So I saw him do Dark Side of the Moon live in its entirety. I saw The Wall live, which is probably one of the most impressive shows I've ever been to because he literally built a wall. And I saw that at a couple times with the last one was at Citizens Bank Park, so the wall went from foul pole to foul pole. Uh, he had an animals inspired stage for the following tour, and then I did the most recent one called This Is Not a Drill, where he did a center stage, which still, the production value is still really high. Has the inflatable pig at all the shows. There's always different things written on it.
Now, is there one group or artist that you would say you've probably seen more than others, or do you pretty much like to spread your concert going experiences out to different genre or different groups and artists?
Well, currently I'm tied with 3 different people for the most viewings. So right now, all tied at pretty much 9 is Bon Jovi, Roger Waters from Pink Floyd, and Bruce Springsteen. In 1 month, I will be seeing Bruce Springsteen again. So
He's gonna take top spot.
Yep. And if you want to count it, I also saw him do a guest appearance at a Rolling Stone show and a solo mini appearance from him. So technically, I've seen Bruce the most.
Is there a movie that came out maybe a couple years ago of a kid from like overseas where he wanted to come to America just to meet Springsteen?
Yeah, Blinded by the Light.
Is that what it was? Did you see that? Was it good?
I did. I don't really remember a whole lot about it. I only saw it once.
I'm not one to sit and watch movies based on groups like that, like a movie like that. But one movie that I know you and I have talked a lot about has been Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yep.
With it being Queen, I think Rami Malek did a fantastic job.
Yeah, the movie was fairly accurate in terms of information they presented. It just wasn't correct in the timeline it actually happened.
You want to elaborate on that a little bit, or
it's just when they show some of the songs being written, they either show them being performed before they were written, such as like Fat Bottom Girls was shown like in the mid 70s, well that wasn't written until the later 70s. They also show them writing We'll Rock You into the 80s when that came out in 77. This whole thing with AIDS diagnosis shows up before the Live Aid concert, and in reality, he didn't find out for 2 more years.
But still, overall, a great movie.
Yeah, enjoyed it very much. Saw it in the theaters at least 2 or 3 times.
I don't think we saw it in theaters, but it was one of those ones as soon as it came out, we were at Walmart, and I was like, yep, we're going to take this home and we're going to watch it. And there was also one about the Beatles recently around the same time, too.
Yeah, it's not a biopic, but it's a story that all of a sudden the Beatles don't exist except for this one guy still knows all their stuff.
Yeah.
So he was a struggling musician and basically starts passing off all their songs as his. And then he comes across like a random other like small group of people that's like, we know what you're doing. It's like, we're aware of these songs as well.
Yeah. I think Ed Sheeran's in that too. I think
he plays himself.
Yeah. So what would you say is another one of the better shows that like you've seen? You were talking about production wise. What about just great like showmanship, so to say?
I'll go with Bruce Springsteen on that. Bare bones stage, but he plays for 3+ hours every night. His set list can vary every single night, so if you see him 3 nights in a row,
you're gonna hear a different set of songs.
Yeah, there's always a handful of songs he plays every night, but you can get 3 completely different set lists otherwise. Pearl Jam's also in the same category as that they change up their set list every night, and usually their stage is pretty bare bones. We'll have a big screen up so you can see maybe
just
some fancy lights, but
just for people that sit on the way back and then nosebleeds where you can't really see down to the stage, you get the big screens.
But yeah, no major props or high production value, just 3+ hours of them just rocking.
So I have written down here in my notes 3 concerts I've been to that hold a very special place in my heart, which is very weird. So the first one was, this is gonna sound really bad, it's probably gonna tune you out for a little bit, but it was a country concert.
Yeah, I'll pass on that
one. There's a story behind it. So it was Luke Bryan, Little Big Town, and Dustin Lynch in Maryland. The only reason, one of the reasons that concert holds a very special place is that's actually where I took my wife on our first unofficial date. Like that was our first unofficial date together, and that was April 8th of 2006. So her and I were coming up on year 7 starting soon, which I believe we mentioned in the Valentine's Day episode. Year 7, I wish I could take her back and relive that night one last time, but I don't want to drive them around. But that's one of the concerts that holds a special place in my heart because, we really didn't know each other very well. It was kind of the spur of the moment trip. But I mean, we ended up spending a weekend with friends, and we had a good time. And I mean, look at us now, 7 years together. End of next month, we're gonna be married for 4 years already.
Good deal.
That's music brings people together.
It does.
Look at Live Aid. Look at Farm Aid.
I went to Live Earth in 2007. It's like Al Gore's version of Live Aid.
Another concert that I went to, which is actually something I did for myself. It was Rob Zombie, Disturbed, and Pop Evil at Hershey. So it was in the Giant Center. It's a decent sized arena.
AHL, so like
Yeah.
10,000, 12,000 seats.
12,000 people. But and that was back in like 2000. That might have been 2016 as well. I think 2016 is the year I went to a lot of concerts. The reason I went is A, it was Disturbed, and B, it was Rob Zombie. And I remember growing up playing sports where it was like those were the two people you listened to the most to get you hyped up for something. So I was like, you know what? It'll probably be one of the last times I I had the chance to go see Rob Zombie. I'm gonna go see Rob Zombie. Another one, and this is gonna sound again, this might turn you off. This might intrigue you a little bit. Jimmy Buffett puts on a hell of a show.
One of my friends is a huge Jimmy Buffett fan. He's seen him many times.
He's a Parrothead?
Yep.
He's a Parrothead? I mean, I've seen him in Jersey. He did shows in Hershey. Have you ever been to a show where you just hated it? Like, the production was horrible. The artist sounded horrible. You could tell they were lip syncing.
No, I haven't really done any shows that I would deem terrible. Like I said, I saw Bob Dylan at a festival. I wasn't there to see him specifically, but I just thought he was pretty bad. He didn't play anything recognizable. He didn't sound good. I mean, not that Bob Dylan's ever sounded great. I mean, technically, one time I saw Jane's Addiction. They were pretty terrible. They kind of redeemed themselves at the Smashing Pumpkin show.
It's always good when you see them one time and then you give them a second chance. That's what I'll do. I'll give them 2 chances, but...
Actually, I would say Cheap Trick was pretty terrible when I saw them. That was a Bloom Fair show. They played like 2 songs that people knew, and the rest was just kind of garbage.
Filler. They just basically got paid to show up, and they did it for a paycheck.
Pretty much. I mean, if you were a diehard fan, I'm sure you'd recognize it, but they had a new album coming out. Nobody cares about a new Cheap Trick fan unless you're a huge Cheap Trick.
So that was early 2000s?
No, this was like 4 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, 2018, 19, somewhere around there.
I don't remember that, because I try and keep up with what postings they have.
I want to say it was 19, because I think it was the last year, because the following year they didn't have the fair.
So it was 19 then, because they didn't have it in 20.
Yeah, and I haven't gone to any shows there since then.
What is it? This year they're having the 90s? Is it the 90s tour? Is this year?
Yeah, that's has been all iced at it.
You want to go? Should we go? Should we just go? Should we just relive like the latter part of the 90s?
I mean, that's early 90s, but they have all kinds of stuff. I forget who else is there, but there's like 6 bands there or something.
I don't know if it's worth the $35 for a ticket.
And Richard Marx is going to be there too on a different night.
I'm going to pass.
But he's right there waiting for you.
I have in my memory 2 concerts that I absolutely hated. One of them, I don't know why I even bought tickets to go see. The other one, I was, again, with my wife. I took her. So we saw Luke Bryan the first time in April. Then July, they were coming to Hershey. Probably should have just waited till the July show to buy tickets, but I bought tickets for both. So the whole day, the day before and the day of leading up to the concert, it poured down rain. You know Hershey Stadium when it rains.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Hershey Stadium to begin with, because it's
traffic is
terrible.
That's one of the worst things about Hershey is traffic,
and the seats are uncomfortable there.
I bought 4 seats for us.
I mean, if you're on the floor and it's just standing, then it's fine. But they're those folding chairs and they're zip tied together.
These ones weren't zip tied, but they were like the folding plastic chairs. Yeah.
So if you got someone that's big next to you, you're kind of squished and you can't maneuver the chair.
You and I would probably have to buy 3 seats in a row just so we have that filler gap in the center.
I mean, I've been to Hershey a bunch of times.
Yeah, so. It rained the whole entire day before, the day of leading up to it. We're thinking that the concert's going to be postponed.
No, only Thunderstorm will not play.
Exactly. And we're sitting there, and out of nowhere, it just stopped. The skies opened up. And then it got ungodly hot in a span of about 45 minutes. So, A, I'm sweating. B, I'm wet and soaked. and now I'm in drenched clothing. That was one of the best/worst concert experiences because I was with my wife. Well, girlfriend at the time, now my wife. So I would say it was worth it.
I've really only had two shows that got, I won't say postponed, but delayed the start due to thunderstorm.
Never had that.
Because one was a Bruce Springsteen in the Meadowlands at MetLife Stadium the day before his birthday. Got there. Show's supposed to 8 o'clock on the ticket, but he never starts right at 8 o'clock.
No show ever starts at 8.
I mean, I got into the venue probably about 7:30. Got to my seat, and there was nobody on the field. So I'm like, all right, something's not right. And then within 15
Why am I
minutes,
the only person in a 50,000 person stadium?
So then within 15 minutes on the big screen it says, please seek shelter due to incoming thunderstorm. Like, it's not even raining out. And if you've ever been to the MetLife Stadium, they have these big pillars outside that have like advertisements on them that rotate through. So all of a sudden a bright one came on, you could just see it started downpouring.
Ooh.
And it did let up for about an hour and a half. So it was 9:30 when it finally got done raining. So that's when they started allowing everybody back into the seating bowl and on the field. So the show didn't start till about 10:15.
Did you have to work the next day?
I did not, actually. And I would not have made it there because, well, Bruce does not play a short show.
Oh, no. He's at least 3 to 4 hours, isn't he?
Yeah, so he came out 10:30 to start the show, and it was 2:15 when it was done. I had taken the train there. So we asked, like, are you sending more trains? Yes. We found out that's only for going into New York City. I was not going into New York City, so I had to sleep at the train station until 6:30 when the train started resuming.
I feel like train stations are one of those things that should just run 24 hours.
Nope, 2 o'clock in the morning is the last train, and then it starts again at 6-ish.
So you got 4 hours of sleep.
Not even, because, first we went downstairs to find out. It's like, all right, my car is only like 3 to 4 miles away. So how much is a cab to get to my car? That's $100. No. Waited for another cab. I was like, well, we'll do it for $75. I'm like, still no.
Yeah.
$20 I'd be willing to do because it's only 3 miles down the road. But I was like, nope. I was like, we're going to stay here and we're going to catch a nap on the bench up there.
So you felt you were a homeless person?
Yeah, but at least I was inside.
Yeah. Yeah. You were a clean homeless person.
Yes.
I've seen some dirty hobos.
And the Sbarro gave us some free pizza that they're going to throw out, which was pretty terrible.
Terrible? It was terrible pizza or terrible that they were going to give you free pizza?
No, it's terrible pizza.
Okay, I was like...
Because it was the stuff that had been sitting out for a while, so it was kind of...
Under the heat lamp, so it was already dried out. It was just like thick cardboard at this point.
Yeah, but...
You could have built a shelter out of it?
We could have, but since everybody's really hungry, like, we're just going to throw this out so, like, you guys can have it since, it's, the middle of the night.
I would have let it get cold and I would have eaten it in the morning for breakfast.
It was already, like, semi-cold because I had to turn the heat lamp off for a little while.
Yeah.
Because they were cleaning up and, so I didn't go home till 10 a.m. the next morning.
Oh, I would have made sure you were at work for 8 a.m. I would have made sure I scheduled you for an 8 a.m. shift.
It was my weekend off because the show was on a Saturday.
It doesn't matter. I still would have been like, hey, I need you to come work.
Yeah, I still would have been in New Jersey at that point.
How many times have I done that to you? Like, hey, do you want to work today? I'll give you a day off during the week if you come work now. Why? I had 3 people call off. Give me an hour, I'll be there.
Yeah.
And you live 5 minutes away. I don't know why it took you an hour.
Because usually you call me when I'm still in bed. I'm not even ready yet.
Well,
I'm going to get a shower. I'm going to eat something before I leave.
Perks of having to be a boss. You have to call people in, and it's the most opportune time.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the extra money.
Hey, but some of those days I had to call you in. I fed you.
True.
I took you for lunch. I went and got you food.
Yeah. One almost gave me food poisoning, but it's all good.
Look, it wasn't my fault.
Hey, I got a free sandwich out of that.
Yeah, you ended up paying like $4 for your meal. I had to pay 10 or 12. I was mad.
All I got was extra fries, and I had a lunch of fries.
No, I gave you some wings, didn't I? Didn't I offer you a wing?
I think I ate one.
Yeah. Like, here, do you want these? I feel bad. They tried to kill you with salmonella poisoning.
Which that happened at another show I went to. Nice little segue into that one.
You got food poisoning? Or?
I did. So, Rolling Stones'
eating food out.
50th anniversary show stopped at a restaurant before the show, and apparently my chicken carbonara had some bad product in it.
Oof.
I made it through the whole show without puking, but as soon as I got back to the train station, I puked all over the tracks.
Oh, so again, you were a homeless person. Great,
yeah.
Fantastic.
Nobody batted an eye either. They're just
what? Just because was that in Jersey or New York?
New Jersey Prudential Center, so it was in Newark.
Exactly. Guess what? They're used to it. It's Jersey.
Yeah, I gave my keys to my friends that you're driving home.
Look, if you don't see somebody throw up in New Jersey, are you really in New Jersey?
So, yeah, I mean, they've seen everything there. They don't bat an eye.
Prime example, another segue is I remember going to a Buffett show at Camden where you have to drive through the city to get to it.
Yeah, it's along
Did
the
you
water.
ever drive through the city of Camden, New Jersey?
Yeah, I was actually just there at that venue.
Yeah. In the middle of summer when there's gunfire and people have their head out their windows and you're driving?
I was there in September.
You just go, oh, no, hey, you pull everybody back in the car and you put the windows up and you lock the windows. Nobody's getting shot on my watch.
But, I felt fine. We walked around a little bit beforehand, too.
No. Why would you walk around inner city Camden, New Jersey?
Because it was Pearl Jam show and I collect the posters. And
I forgot you're a poster collector.
Yeah, so they have a merch stand that opened outside the venue that opened at 1 o'clock. You could start lining up as like 9 or 10. I got there at 11. The line was already like ridiculously long, but
did you get your poster?
I got my poster, and I bought a second one, and I made like $200 by doing it. And
paid for your concert ticket at least.
Paid for my ticket, the parking fee, and the gas. So easy way to make some extra money.
I would say I have a bunch of movie posters over in the other room. You can go look at when we're done here, and you can take one home with you today for being a good guest. He was a very prompt guest. It was my fault we did not start recording on time, but I forgot I changed the podcast from last week's episode that I had to go back and re-edit everything.
As long as you enjoy it.
I do. I have great conversations. You've listened to all the episodes. I mean, I think I'm doing a good job. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll keep listening for a little while.
You keep listening? You're gonna listen to this episode again? See what I cut out and see what I keep in?
Yeah. See how you edit me. Censor me.
I don't have a censor button yet, but don't say anything that's bad. Cause I have had some guests where they'll message me saying, "You didn't we talk about this?" I'm like, "Yes, I cut it out." Why? You rambled on for 5 minutes. I'm trying to keep people entertained here, okay? I don't want to.
Yeah, I'll edit out the dirty stuff I've seen at shows because I've seen plenty of it.
Yes, so have I.
The most recent thing, since weed is legal in New York City, so you can't have. It doesn't benefit the people selling weed outside, so now they sell balloons full of whippets.
Balloons full of whippets?
Yeah.
Care to explain how in the hell that works?
So you have a balloon that's inflated with this gas, and then you inhale it, and it gets you high. It's like
when you say
it's like the whipping cream.
Right? Yeah, that's what I thought of. I'm like,
yeah, that's basically what they're doing.
Balloons full of Ready Whip?
That's just the gas for it.
Yeah, but I was like, God, fucking people are stupid.
Yeah, saw that at my most recent show in New York City. There's a handful of guys with big red balloons full of whippets.
Oh, did they follow you down? Did they go into a storm drain?
I mean, the one guy went on the subway with us.
Oh, did you get the reference?
Oh, I do.
You got the reference?
Yes.
Which that movie, I will never watch that movie. I hate clowns.
Most people do.
There's only 2 clown movies I like. Devil's Rejects.
All right.
Captain Spaulding. That's a decent clown. And Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yep, I've seen that.
2 clown movies. Those are the only 2 clowns I like. I don't mess with clowns.
No Krusty the Clown.
I'm not a Simpsons guy. I'm not a Simpsons guy. I'm sorry. People hate me when I say that. I am not a Simpsons guy.
I mean, it's a staple of TV for the last 30 years. I mean, quality has gone downhill, but
look, they're so good at predicting things.
They are.
That's why I'm like, I don't want to see what happens next. I don't need to see.
They got a good track record on that stuff.
You consider a good track record or a bad track record when you realize what all they predicted right?
I mean, it's not all bad stuff.
9/11.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of a gray area on that one with how they did that with the pamphlet.
What else have the Simpsons predicted right? I know they predicted the Super Bowl right. A couple Super Bowls actually.
Yeah, I mean another thing if you want to count, they showed the Rolling Stones still touring well into their 70s.
Yeah.
They called it the wheelchair tour, even though none of them are in a wheelchair. Mick Jagger moves around better than I ever will.
Get it rolling because they're rolling in wheelchairs. That's my
Yeah.
dad joke for today.
Very
You're
nice.
welcome for that one.
There's a whole list though, everything they.
Yeah.
I think another one was like the video phone calling, but even then you can throw that back to the Jetsons.
Yeah. Are we supposed to have flying clever cars right now? Still waiting.
Technically, George Jetson was only supposed to be being born this past year.
Holy shit! Are we really that old?
Yeah, they did the math. They figured out he should be either was conceived or born at some recent time.
Yeah, we're old. I remember when the Back to the Future date happened.
Yeah, that's now almost 8 years ago. So he went to 2015.
Are we really that old?
Yep.
I mean, you're a lot. You're significantly older than I am.
By like what, 4 years?
I turned 32 this year.
5 years.
Okay, still, you were wiping your own butt by the time I was still pooping mine.
Very true.
Horrible halftime show.
That was.
Did you see the memes from it?
I've
The
seen
memes have been the best part.
Yeah, that was more of a. I'm gonna put this on mute.
Yeah, I'm gonna just go do the dishes while this is playing. Like that's what I was one of those things where me and a buddy that were watching the game, we kind of just went, "What are we watching? Why? Why are we watching it?" It wasn't as good as the past two Super Bowl halftime shows.
Yeah, so we had like Eminem and stuff last year.
Last year you had Dre, Snoop, Mary J. Blige, 50, M, and Kendrick Lamar. And if correct me if I'm wrong, the year before that, I think we had the J-Lo Shakira halftime show.
That was 2020 because I went to a Super Bowl party for that one. I remember who did the 21.
Let me look it up 1 second.
Yeah, because I went to a Super Bowl party for 2020 because everything was still open and everything. I mean, I know where it happened. It was in Tampa because Tampa got the first win at their home stadium for a Super Bowl.
The 2021 halftime show was the Snoop and Dre.
Oh yeah, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself here.
Yeah, so it would have been. So that was last year's show.
No, we're counting this as 23. So I'm counting 22 as the Eminem, Snoop, and all that. The year that actually happened, not the football season. I don't remember who did 21.
2021 one was the weekend.
Oh, yeah. I would have forgotten all about that one.
Thank you. Thank you. Because he came out and he had after his facial
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of the weekend. I'm not. But the 2020 halftime show, that was the good one.
Yeah, that one I watched.
That was Shakira and J-Lo. I mean, but just looking back at this list of here, so 2021 was the weekend, 2020 was Shakira and J-Lo, 2019 was Maroon 5. That was the Adam Lambert controversy where...
Not Adam Levine.
Same thing. Same person. I hate Maroon 5, so they're the same.
Yeah, I saw that one at the bar and they had the volume turned down for it.
2018, that was Justin Timberlake. Good show. No nipples were shown. Still a good show.
Yeah, that was in Minneapolis because I know he did a Prince tribute.
Yep. And then Lady Gaga was the year before that with her meat dress.
I remember playing. I don't remember the meat dress though.
Yeah. Coldplay was 2016 with Beyonce and Bruno Mars, which that's just a weird trio right there.
I am not a fan of Beyonce.
15 was Katy Perry, Lenny Kravitz, and Missy Elliott.
I just remember the shark.
I'm not gonna lie. I was probably one of those people that went on the Amazon to see what I could buy a shark costume for, but I didn't end up buying it. And 2014 was Bruno Mars and Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, because that's the one in the Meadowlands, and the Chili Peppers got some flack because they blatantly showed their instruments not plugged in. Like, yeah, the halftime shows, they're always pre-recorded because they need to make sure it goes smoothly.
Yeah, and they have to trim it down to 15 minutes.
Yeah, they need to make sure it's going to fit in the time allotted.
Yep.
Some of it is live, but yes, most of the instrumentation is usually pre-recorded.
I'm going to say 2009 was the best halftime show you ever seen.
Bruce Springsteen.
You already know. What about 2008? You had Tom Petty.
Yeah, that was another good one. Then the year before that was Prince, I believe.
Yep.
And then there was the Rolling Stones before that.
Yep. And then
Paul McCartney probably.
I forgot in 2004 it was Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake, Kid Rock, Diddy, and Nelly.
Yeah, nobody cares about the other one because the only people remember was the
nipple incident. The nipple incident.
Yeah, because I was a senior in high school when that happened.
2004. Yeah, you were a senior. I was in probably 6th or 7th grade.
Because I took a sports and entertainment marketing class, and our teacher recorded the game so we could go over the commercials the next day.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Can we watch the halftime show?" She's like, "No, we can't."
Yeah, the one kid that just pauses right there, just right on it, just stares. What are you doing? Nothing.
Yep. Before 2004, I'm a little sketchy on who did it. I know, well, you two did it in 2002.
Yep. Shania Twain and No Doubt, and Sting was in 2003.
Yeah, I wouldn't remember that one. I know Aerosmith did it at one point.
Yeah, and that was 2001. It was the King of Rocks and Pop, featuring Aerosmith, NSYNC, Britney Spears, Mary J. Blige, and Nelly. So within 3 years, Nelly did the halftime show twice.
Yep.
He did it in 2001 and then again in 2004. And you know what? 2023 or 2024, I guess, Let's just give Nelly the halftime show. Just Nelly. But he has to play strictly country grammar album songs.
That's
with the Band-Aid under his eye.
Does he even do that anymore? The Band-Aid?
No. That wound finally healed.
He could have kept picking at it.
Well, maybe the doctor told him to stop and he finally said, fine, I'm going to let it scab over and fall off. All right, Mike. Now, the time that everybody probably likes to watch this, listen to this podcast for, our top 5. Today's top 5 is your top 5 favorite music artists.
Starting at number 1 or starting at number 5?
Whatever you want. You're the guest. You dictate how this list is going.
So I'll start with number 5 then.
Okay. Oh, so we're going to go top to bottom to top?
Yep.
Great. Let's go.
So I had some thought over this one. Not as easy as I was expecting it to be, but I probably have to put Pink Floyd at number 5. Just because it's one of the bands that I got into earlier than some of the other stuff. I pretty much only like that from Dark Side of the Moon on. I don't care for the early Pink Floyd stuff, so. But pretty much everything I believe they put out from Dark Side through the Division Bell, and if you want to count Endless River, I think is solid material.
Okay. That's a nice solid base.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go from Dark Side of the Moon up, it's a nice base. My number 5, you're not gonna like this answer. It's a country singer. It's Cole Swindell. Because
I don't even know who that is, to be honest with you.
He has a song out right now where he remixed She Has Me at Heads Carolina. My daughter loves that song. Whenever she hears it, she starts dancing. And with her being barely able to stand, it's her holding onto the side of the couch, just twisting her butt. So it's the most adorable thing you'll ever see. So I had to play that song at least 3 times a day in this house. But that's my number 5. Cole Swindell. And it's actually it's the first concert we saw at the Bloom Fair. He's done the Bloom Fair twice in our 7 years together. We saw him every time he comes to Bloom. And this year we're going to see him up in Wilkes-Barre. Well, we're going to go take a nice little mom-dad weekend away in July and see a concert and go to Roost Chris Steakhouse.
Very good.
Yeah, you gotta keep the wife happy when you spend money on a concert. You take her to a nice dinner too.
Fair enough. So my number 4 would be Pearl Jam.
Okay.
Always liked them since high school, and then I saw them for the first time when they closed the Spectrum in 2009.
R.I.P.
Yep.
Never been there. Always wanted to go there.
And I mean, I've seen them a handful of times since then. Saw them in Baltimore, saw them at the Garden, saw them at Wrigley Field, saw them at Camden. But they're like Bruce, they changed up their set list. Even though they're a 90s band, they definitely have the classic rock influence at times. I mean, he's good friends with Pete Townsend. I mean, he's been, a big fan of him from the get-go.
All right, my number 4, this might be a little controversial. It's Dr. Dre.
Yeah, nothing wrong with Dr. Dre.
Especially with everything that he's made beats to, all of his NWA stuff. Number 3, what do you got?
Number 3 would be Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. So I saw him for the first time in his home area at Giant Stadium, the old Giant Stadium. Saw him there twice. Went in as a casual fan, walked away as, I need to see this man again.
And that started your 12 plus times of seeing Bruce.
So I saw him close the old Giant Stadium. I saw him at the Spectrum. I saw him in Hershey a few times. I've seen him at the Garden. Seen him in the Meadowlands Arena. Saw him at MetLife Stadium. Changes up his set list every night. Respected the man for his show for being 3+ hours.
That's a lot to perform.
He takes song requests out of the audience usually. People hold up signs, and if you draw a nice sign, he tends to play the song. Doesn't matter if it's his or not. Yeah, sometimes he releases videos of it, like he played Stayin' Alive the one time. And they were in like Australia or something like that, and he played that song from Lord Ruler.
To my number 3 now, right?
Correct.
I'm gonna go with Aerosmith.
I like Aerosmith. I've seen them only once. They canceled on me twice.
I have not seen Aerosmith. I've always wanted to, but yes, Aerosmith is my number 3.
So my number 2 would be the Beatles. They're one of the first bands I got into outside of my number 1 band, which you'll find out in a minute. But
I already know your number 1 band.
Yeah,
because we've talked about this before.
Yeah. So Paul McCartney was my first big show. I saw some stuff at the fair as a kid, but Paul McCartney was my first big show. And in my mind, pretty much everything that the Beatles put out, they can't do anything wrong. It's like they're one of the few bands that You can listen to anything that they put out, and it's a good song. They only have a couple that are deemed skip worthy, in my opinion.
Okay.
So I would say like 99% of their material is, listenable.
Okay, my number two. This my list is just meant to create controversy. From just the looks of it, it's ludicrous.
I've actually seen Ludacris at a festival.
I have not, but I mean, growing up, I remember watching Too Fast, Too Furious when he had his giant afro and he did like half the soundtrack. It's one of those things when if I'm at work or if I'm in the car driving and it comes on, I'm not turning it off. I'm turning it up.
Number one is Queen. They've been my favorite band since I was probably about 9 years old. They're one of the bands I've always thought their story was fairly interesting because all four guys are, they're educated, college. Brian May has a PhD in astrophysics, and just their intelligence shows in a lot of the music that they've written. That they're, it's all very well put together. It's not just like, we're four guys, let's just get and put something out.
Yeah.
It's all well thought out, well produced.
Again, sorry.
Yeah, again, pretty much not everything they put out is complete gold, but
What about "Dude, I Love My Car"? That would have been a great song.
So I'm in love with my car.
Okay, yeah. You know what I meant.
I mean, it is a great song. Roger Taylor sang it, and I mean, it's still a live staple to this day when they tour. Because they tour with Adam Lambert currently, and I also saw them with Paul Rogers back in 2005 and 6.
Yeah,
but that was always a staple for Roger Taylor singing a song for the show.
My number one is it's another country artist, so I apologize.
Terrible.
It's terrible. It's Granger Smith from Texas.
Never even heard of that name.
He does exactly. That's why a lot of people don't know about Granger, but the people that do, his songs are phenomenal. Him and his wife, they do great charity work. Great guy, great content he creates on YouTube, and his songs are great. I mean, he's a country boy. Sorry,
I'll take your word on that one.
Yeah, I won't make you listen to it because I know you would just be like, no, I'm just gonna get out. I'm just gonna walk. Mike, thank you for coming on. I know this was kind of a last minute. We were talking last night and trying to figure out our topics, and I think we did a great job. But
yeah.
Again, thank you for taking time out of your schedule. Go sell some appliances.
I will do just that.
All right. Everybody, again, thank you for listening to episode 5 of the Armory 33 podcast. As always, I'm your host, Quinn. Have a great week, everybody.